Hello and welcome to day one of the ReAwaken America Tour, Tulare, California. And we are so blessed right now to have with me somebody who in the vaccine world is very famous. She would probably be in like the top three that I know by name, along with like Dr. Andrew Wakefield and Dr. Malone. You, Dr. Mikovitz, are a rock star, in my opinion.
This was sacred to God. This is exactly why I need some action from my people.
And with those elf ears, you're even more of a rock star.
Thanks, Gabe.
Well, Church and State is so blessed to have her with us. I also have my sister-in-law, who's a homeopathic stud. She's a chiropractor. She is very versed. So I'm making you speak. You have your own podcast. Can you tell our listeners the name of your podcast?
The Unfiltered Healing Podcast.
Okay, and which platform are you usually uploading your podcast to and from?
We're on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes.
The Unfiltered
Healing Podcast. Yes.
All right. Okay, well, we're going to get rolling here. And you speak tomorrow at 3 o'clock.
Yes, I do.
Okay, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, you can find links to the live broadcast of Clay Clark's ReAwaken America Tour. She's going to be speaking at 3 o'clock tomorrow. You can hear all of the information of other speakers as well. And those of you who are patriots who are already listening, you can even get more information at churchandstate.media. Find out about our media outreach. And thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Judy.
It's delightful to be here. It's a little chilly.
It is. You're from California. We're in Tulare, but it's like we have blankets on under the table keeping us warm. I'm so thankful for.
Yeah, me as well. I have my True 47 silver gloves on.
Okay.
That keeps me antimicrobial and warm and 5G protection.
Nice.
Maybe they'll even heat up. So I need my fingers free so I can text, so I put holes in them.
Wow. Well, you're most known, I think, in circles for your role in the movie Plandemic, and it really opened the eyes of a lot of people. And you actually, my sister-in-law was telling me you were incarcerated, and we were both trying to find out how long you were actually in the slammer.
I was actually in the slammer 5 days.
Okay.
I was kidnapped and held there.
They literally kidnapped you.
Just like J6ers. It's no different. I mean,
for what?
For 2011, I was declared a fugitive from Fauci, or a fugitive from justice is what they said, because they tried to they went to my home in California, in Oxnard, California at the time, near the Channel Islands, and they tricked the sheriffs into looking for Judy Mikovitz. Well, Judy Nolde lived in Oxnard, California, so my professional name is Mikovitz, but my God name is Nolde from October 7th, 2000.
Okay.
And so I was a fugitive from Fauci, and the sheriff in Ventura was conned into saying, this person's holding up in that house. And they held me there for 5 days until my husband finally ransomed me out of jail.
Wow.
Literally ransomed me out of jail. And the good news is God wins, because almost 10 years later, now it's 12 years later since I was jailed, now we see what's happening everywhere. So they didn't want you to know the inconvenient truth that HIV was gain-of-function mRNA synthetic virus injected in the 90s by Birx and Redfield. So they knew how to injure the best and the brightest in our country. That was the goal. Get the blacks, get the athletes, get the women sterilized. It was an extermination program, never has been a vaccination program. In fact, my work for 22 years at the National Cancer Institute was cancer. And so it's not turbo cancer. They've been trying to figure it out, folks, for 40 years. And you helped them by putting on a mask, suffocating yourself, and applying, a flame, inflammation, constant inflammation to your brain and your body, and wonder why you're dying.
So that constant fog that we were in, those of us who were wearing masks for a very short window, I every once in a while will wear a mask as a carpenter because I'm working with,
Sure.
sawdust.
Yeah.
And back when I was an EMT, I would wear a mask to protect my patient from me. That's the
Right.
purpose of a mask, is not to protect me from the germs, to protect my patient from my germs.
Correct.
But yeah, I would get literally lightheaded trying to function. So that very reaction my body was having was simply part of their plan.
Correct. And in fact, now we've succeeded at telling people not to wear masks. And as we heard on the High Wire yesterday, Dr. Pierre Corey was talking about people going in grocery stores and getting spiked. And getting spiked by the synthetic viral-like particles. There is no spike protein floating in your blood.
Wow.
It's in a synthetic lipid nanoparticle. So all our fats have been synthetic for 50 years. So the first big lie was cholesterol. You needed to make everything.
Right.
So we treated a test, and this is what we do now. We treat a test instead of testing for the truth and testing what's the truth. And we of little faith don't know how to see the truth.
A lot of young people are waking up. So my sister-in-law, she's in her 20s, and like my daughter
Not
is in her
quite,
20s.
but thank
Hey,
you.
I'm speaking life. Okay, you look younger than you are.
I'll take it.
Okay, there's a lot of young people who are waking up. She's a practicing doctor and a chiropractor. You're a part of the waking up of the generation before you.
Right.
And like Rachel, what can you say to all the young people who are now really waking up? Like COVID, vaccinations, all these things, whether you're saved or not, whether you're going to church, this is kind of like, it's becoming mainstream for young people in their 20s to say, no, I'm waking up to this garbage. What are your thoughts on that? And props to her for waking us up.
Yeah, she's a huge part of that. But I always say now, like, COVID in a sense is a blessing because it did wake up so many people to like all vaccines. Really, and that's what we're seeing in our practice in our communities is like, hey, I'm seeing reactions, I'm seeing things. Now they're questioning all of them, and that was always our prayer, is that all of it would get exposed. There's still lots of work to do, but I would say a lot more opening of our generation's mind of, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be bullied around doing that. And so we're seeing a big shift, and she's a big part of that. For sure.
Well, I certainly appreciate that you, as a practitioner, as a health person who is going to be treating patients, because my job is to teach you. And my bigger job right now, the worst part of it, waking up the 60-year-olds, the 50-year-olds who are stuck in pride. That's not of God. That's ego, and so it's easy. That's part of what I'll show you. Here's the test. Here's the test. You do a test. This is the test for discernment. Am I going to stick a clear liquid in my newborn's arm in hours of their life and think God didn't know that?
Or even in utero. They had a COVID vaccine to literally in utero. I thought so sadistic. How absolutely from the pit of hell is that?
Yeah.
To literally in utero inject that into your baby.
But we've been doing that as a culture, and even as Christians, as you just mentioned, we didn't think there was anything wrong with in vitro fertilization. I think Abraham and Sarah got in a little trouble for not trusting God somewhere along the way, and I don't know. I'm not a biblical scholar yet, but I'm working on it. But this is a thing. No, in vitro fertilization is wrong.
So that's so interesting because you're such a scientist.
And nobody knows.
You are so philosophically way ahead of the curve as far as all those neurons and synapses are firing on the things of science that I wish I had. And fundamentally, I would think that you would be like, hey, let's push science to the galaxy and beyond, like Star Trek. But you're saying, hey, let God be in the driver's seat. Yeah, science is for a blessing, but you're saying let God be in the driver's seat.
But natural law is God, and scientific truth is natural law. And you can't patent it. You don't invent it. You discover it. So the truth is science. What we are being told is science is a cult called scientism.
Right.
And if you're in the cult, you're not in the right place. So all you have to do is ask yourself. People are always asking me, are they good or bad? Mm-hmm. And I used to say until very recently, is it God or evil in the United States of America? Because we're one nation under God. But now the correct question is it Christ or Antichrist? Because that's the time we're in Revelation. That's what 1 John is telling us. So, we've got a bunch of awake 5-year-olds or 2-year-olds who need to be told the definition of hot.
Yes.
Get out of the, and see, we've got to retrain them and tell them what to do, pastors and practitioners alike. And that's why we're here with Light Dove Ministries. So we built the ministries, Andrew and Serafini, my godson, 2 years ago, it's like, okay, I'll stay on the medicine end of it, but if I can't get a doctor to give ivermectin knowing that it is generally regarded as safe, these 50, 100-year-old drugs, rapamycin, we isolated it from the soil. Yes, we can do good things with penicillin, but not if we drive it the wrong way. So what the cult has done is taken God's natural law, which we discovered,
right,
and can't patent.
Right.
No, patents are against God. That's why I said that in pandemic. No, this is what ruined science. That was like 1980. And so I came into science in 80, and it didn't take effect until like 85, and we cured cancer right then, and AIDS right then and there.
Wow.
And then we decided let's patent it. Let's make recombinant technology. Let's recombine God's genes, not according to God. And see, it's not, it's God. I'm an identical twin. Mm-hmm. Twinning occurs at 64 cells. We didn't know that until very recently. 64 cells. Because what happens in vitro fertilization is the zygote is formed, the sperm meets the egg and is fertilized. It goes 6 divisions till it's like a tiny little seed. And then you build the placenta around it. And then the placenta implants into the uterine cell wall at about, 6 weeks or so, and what we measure in a pregnancy test is when the hormones go on. So when we do in vitro fertilization, you have to turn on the hormones in the woman, and it's ungodly. And
right.
See, God doesn't want sick kids.
Yeah.
God didn't make unhealthy kids. Right. God gave us everything and orchestrates that. And so when it implants, twinning occurs. Wow. You're gonna play that one, and I'm an identical twin, so I've thought about it my whole life.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And the reason I can say with fact all of this is not one in vitro fertilization has ever gotten you identical twins. In a single placenta, in a single egg, and I could show you.
That's interesting.
We're mirror twins, so I can't breathe out of this side of my nose, and she can't breathe out of the other side.
Oh my gosh!
And so we were only one heartbeat when the technology didn't have a sonogram. So you see, technologies precede discoveries. And as we have these great new laser technologies, and we can see things like the EE system and using our endocannabinoid system and feeding our endocannabinoid system. When it says endo, right, endogenous, in your genes given by God,
wow,
you don't, another human being is another human being. So you can't humanize a monoclonal antibody. And what we learned in the beginning is recombinant doesn't work. It doesn't work because it's post-translationally modified after transcription. The central dogma of molecular biology at the DNA level is you go from DNA to mRNA that's exported to the cytoplasm and translated into protein.
Right.
But 97% of it's never translated into protein. It's the modifications. It's the orchestrations. It's the on-off switch. Which gene, which cell. How are you going to build the eyes out of the same chromosomes?
So beautiful. God's creation.
Beautiful. And that people are targeting X because it's the X chromosome that every human being has. Every human being has, including Jesus. Know why. And Y's gone by 6 months. All the information's off of it. So when you start to think who matters, it's woman. Sorry. That X chromosome is the expression of your genes. So
I can't be whatever gender I want to be assigned. Even
No.
Okay.
Because if you have XXY, you have a genetic defect called Klinefelter syndrome, and you can't reproduce.
Right.
Because you see, God doesn't allow non-God beings to be reproduced. They can't transhumanize
So
us.
is there an asexual individual or hermaphrodite? What would that person be?
In plants, I think you call it hermaphrodite. We
Okay.
don't have.
That's not a terminology
self-fertilization.
for a
Correct.
human.
It's not a terminology.
You either,
for
yeah, okay. So God literally has encoded in us, when it doesn't work, it can't reproduce.
And our food. We get salicylic acid, aspirin, I was telling. We get aspirin from plants. And when plants get infected with a certain kind of long-chain non-coding RNA, non-coding, it's the one that says make more salicylic acid. So that's why, as a natural products chemist, I feed the soil and I feed the cultures.
Right.
Cultures in order to make the most of the product so the yield gets better when I manufacture. But when I purify it as a single agent, it doesn't work because it's not according to God, because God gave us plus minuses and an entourage in a plant. The same family of plants is strychnine and digoxin. One you can use to prevent a heart attack, and one you can use or to stop one in nature, and one will cause a heart attack. It's the yin yang. God gave it to us as a balance of everything. It's all about homeostasis, stay in balance. And we just so poison. If we look at, just look at our environment. Most people in that room out there won't get any food or water today.
Yeah, people are constantly
Regardless
just
of what they
dehydrated.
ate, what they eat.
People are eating insufficient amounts, or what they do eat is
It's all
not
poison,
healthy,
and your water's not water.
man-made.
So forcing eight glasses of poison, calling it water, is a really bad thing.
Her mama has like been gardening forever. That's my mother-in-law. And then my wife has a garden. And I always thought, you got to wash off your vegetables super, super stringent. No, my mother-in-law was like, no, leave some of that dirt on there. That's good for you. You actually need some of that.
Yeah, dirt on an egg. They take an egg and they dip it in a grocery store.
Yeah.
Right.
So yes,
no kidding. Did you just say that?
They bleach
you
it.
take an egg and they dipped it
Dip it in chlorine in the grocery
Oh,
store.
okay.
Sorry. In order to put it in a grocery store, and this is what my friend Dr. Robert O. Young, he's always saying the most poisonous thing in the world is an egg yolk.
Wow.
Well, that's the healthiest thing. That's where you get most of your dimethylglycine. That's where you get your choline. That's where you get the post-translational modification that is key to everything. Methylating that DNA, that on and off switch. So we just take it out of our bones because they call it junk DNA. So if you dip an egg in chlorine, doesn't matter.
Just
But
poisoning
you just put everything in that grocery store.
Yeah.
Every pathogen, every
Wow.
salmonella, every shed and spread protein from those shots. They're made to shed.
Do you have
They're
your own
made
chickens,
to
Miss
spread.
Judy?
No, but I get them from my local farmer's market.
Okay, so you know they're good.
Yes.
I have my own chickens, and I did not love them as much as I do now at this moment. Like, my wife goes, "Did you feed the chickens?" I'm like, "I don't have time to." Now I do. I do have time now.
And make sure it's not Purina feed or they
Yeah.
won't lay eggs.
No, we get actually really good stuff from up in the backwoods
That's right.
from a little Mennonite community, and so it's the good stuff. Hey, I wanted to talk about AZT. The protocols usually kill more people than the actual disease. Remdesivir, the protocol killed probably more people than the actual disease.
That was the intention. It's death by
Okay,
protocol.
so you answered my question.
That was the
Speak-
intention.
And do you think that like they accomplished it?
HIV
I
didn't
think they
kill
actually.
anybody.
I know I feel like they wanted to kill more people with COVID, and they missed their goals, but they made enough of an impact to where at least they were able to screw over an election. Like, what do you say to people? I hope people are waking up to that. Whatever the next COVID 2.0, they're gonna have another protocol. And what's interesting, Miss Judy, is they're actually, they've projected out. They have these little fake mock, like Event 201 or whatever. They've been projecting and saying that something's going to hit our kids, and we're actually kind of seeing that. I don't want to speak fear to all you parents, but I know we reacted in such a knee-jerk way because of COVID. And the funny thing is, it was only 1% of 1%, and the age bracket was those who've actually lived a pretty good life. But if it hits kids, people are going to kind of freak out. But still, even then, should we trust the protocol? What are your thoughts?
We should never trust the protocol. And again, we test it. You test to see if it's Christ or Antichrist.
Okay.
So number one, is it all over the newspaper or all over the TV, buy this? Okay, then it's poison. Dr. Mark Sherwood just said it. If they call it food, there's no such thing as junk DNA. That's what I just did, DNA. There's no such thing as junk DNA, and there's no such thing as junk food. We're being poisoned. We started with genetically modifying. Why do we think we need to genetically modify a tomato?
Right.
If it's rotten, it's rotten. And it's not food for you either, because you won't deliver any of these key nutrients. They're nutrients given by God. So the remdesivir is ivermectin with cyanide and fluoride laced in it. And you know that. And so they show you on TV, so we're supposed to be in the world, but not of the world. So the minute it's all over the TV, television,
right.
It's not the truth.
So when
there
it gets pushed on a global scale, that's when your haunches go up. That's when you become sensitive in the Holy Spirit. Just, basically Mom used to say, hey, if everybody jumps off a building, are you going to jump off the building? That's what you're saying, is to really keep watch, people of God. Once they're pushing it on everyone, really be careful.
Well, and that's with everything in life. People say, let's just say Robert Malone. Is he good or bad? Wrong question.
Yeah.
Is it Christ or Antichrist?
Right.
All you have to do is listen to him for 5 minutes, and you know it's not Christ. Therefore, that's my only comment.
Yeah.
It's not for me to judge, but I know what is truth, and I know what we're told. We're told to be discerning. We're told to ask questions. And they're simple questions. It's easy to see. It's all over the TV. If there's pride involved, arrogance, no I in team, done.
Yeah.
I won't share a stage with, Judy Mikovitz or Brian Artis. Because that would mean there is snake venom components in most of the things you're calling medicine, because your goal really is to try and poison us. And then that question comes through, and you'll notice those people just leave the movement.
Yep.
And they're not here. So, you listen to their words, and that's every day, because they, how do we tell a counterfeit?
Right.
I ask a lot of people that question, and people try to make it really complicated. And my youngest nephew, maybe he's my youngest nephew, but my youngest nephew said, you hold it up to the light.
Yeah.
Look at that $100. You hold it up to the light.
Yeah.
Hold it up to the light and make it make sense.
So going back to that snake comment, there was a lot of people who Stu Peters put out the documentary, and some people said that was a failure putting that out there. And I'm not in the medical community, so you're saying people, just because it sounds far-fetched, to be able to launch snake venom into a water source, who knows how it got there, but the likelihood that the cursors or the markings of the disease is very similar to an actual serpent poison.
Correct. And when you look at the molecular level, that's why I explained the central dogma of molecular biology. You just see, they change the molecules. They change the sensor on our cells. They genetically attempted to modify that. The only way they can get that in is transfection.
So there's no way that this could have been just some monkey in a bat in Wuhan market.
Never was. Neither was HIV/AIDS.
Right.
Didn't mean HIV didn't exist.
Right.
And didn't mean gay-related immune deficiency didn't exist. But then you change the words. So I thought Stu Peters and what Brian Artis did was brilliant, because that's what it was. It was snake venom. So you're being poisoned, folks. And you know how it came there? We use a preservative in all of our medicines in hospitals and in chemicals we use in labs called sodium azide. The minute it hits the water, it's cyanide. Oh, snake venom, anyone? Yeah. Add it to the peptide called syncytin, our God-given fusogenic protein, to bind the fertilized embryo into the uterine cell wall, the plasma, the placenta. Syncytin, snake venom peptide. We've got protection on every chromosome, sometimes 40 times over from our X chromosome. Our syncytin. So we can carry our young without laying eggs that the snakes eat in the sand. Everything I said in pandemic, walk on the beach. Yeah, because then you're grounded from the electroporation. That's how we used to put these things in cells, because they won't just go even when you inject them. Remember, it stays at the injection site.
Right.
Well, it did until somebody just showed them that it didn't, and we showed them in vaccine court. So they would experiment on these kids and these elderly people in these military in vaccine court. For almost 40 years unchecked, they were watching. Could they hurt a certain population by adding all the components? And they knew exactly what they were doing. And now they have to pay for it. And we can make them pay for it. That's what I'm going to show you tomorrow.
Another reason why I need to go to the beach more often, Miss Judy, I already adore the water. So now I have a scientific reason to go and spend time in San Diego.
And what did Governor Garcetti of the mayor of Los Angeles, whatever, and
can't go to the beaches.
Can't go to the beaches.
How disgusting.
And Mickey did that so well, because everybody's like, you're kidding me, right?
Yeah.
You know, there are sequences in the sand. Well, of course there are, because I think worms are in the sand. I think snakes are in the sand. I think things break down in the sea and the salt water. Oh, and salt water. We're salt and light. We're not, I used to say there's nothing sweet about me. We're not sugar sweet. You know, no, we're salt and light.
Amen.
You know, I drink salty dogs with Courtney over
Come on.
there. It's Sunday fun day.
That's right.
Because I'm a salty dog. And you know, in your medication, when you start thinking this way, like Brian Artis, oh, what did they tell you not to do? Take certain pills with grapefruit juice. Because grapefruit juice and the terpenes in grapefruit juice that we alcohol extract from the peels. Yeah, alcohol extract. Not Sermon has nothing to do with pine needle tea. You know, turpentine is a poison you get from which pine needle, and it's a different pathway. But when they start telling you the things that sound stupid, or when I get on one of these radio shows, I did that on purpose in March of 2021. I said sermon knowing very well we cured autism with it in 2015. And I consented those 25 kids. Well, you could hit and we got 11 out of 25. It was a small study, but double-blind, placebo-controlled study. So then Tony Fauci had to change his language. It said, you can't say it's anecdotal. The study was perfect, because I can see the pathways that I knew which kids would respond, but which purinergic modulator, Sermon or ivermectin. And so when you know it comes from a worm called a trypanosome, and within 5 seconds of me saying that, all over the internet, somebody selling pine needle tea with a fake website. That's why the Mikovitz name is gone.
Do you think they do that to make it look discredited?
No, they did it to make sure. I just wait to see how long, because I know they're coming.
They try to do the whole P.T. Barnum thing to you. They try to make you look like a carnival, and
I'm good at it.
I just trust your brilliance. You are so.
I could be a carnival.
But you know what? P.T. Barnum said, all news is good news. Basically, like, hey, if you're gonna mock me, so be it. It's just gonna draw more people to the truth.
Right.
Hey, Rachel, did you have a question for? I see your wheels turning.
There's so many wheels.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back and ask you, when we were talking about earlier, what you were working on with your godson, because I think that's super incredible about what you guys are doing with medicine and all of that type of stuff.
Right. Well, we've worked together since 2014, and they killed his mother with a drug called Eliquis, which is a blood thinner. You don't thin blood to carry oxygen, folks.
Yeah.
It's dumb. So they killed his mother, and she had a particular factor 5, it's called bleeding disorder. So one day we were working on making cannabinoids for kids with autism and military. He's a military veteran in PTSD in the San Diego area, and we were trying to get it through the legislatures in Arizona, as we talked about Ernie Hancock, and getting help for the veterans and the people with these associated neuroimmune diseases. So he looked really terrible one day, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? And we were working with Dr. Rossetti, and he said,
Ernie was looking like poo?
No, Andrew Serafini, and he's a very handsome young man.
But he wasn't looking healthy?
So he wasn't looking good, and he said, and I said, what's wrong with you? I probably said, what the hell's wrong with you? Because that's the way I used to talk. But he said, oh, they changed my medication, and I'm like,
Come here.
Give it. You
Let
know,
me
and
see
he
it.
flips the bottle, and I threw it to Rossetti because they won't talk to me because I'm the bad Judy Mikovitz. I'm not the male Dr. Rossetti. Anyway, but so I threw it at him and said, same thing that killed his mom. Tell the moron, you know, hematologist, this is how you kill people, and we'll sue him. The next day he's got a different medication and he's
Wow.
fine. So
Did he feel better?
Yeah, because you're just bleeding them out, and that's what they're doing. They killed my mom in 19 with that, you know, and this is like AFib. Your heart doesn't one day not know how to beat.
Exactly.
That's poison in vaccines. And so the elderly were strong, and they knew better.
So the blood was too thin.
Well,
that what you're
yeah,
saying?
it's not carrying oxygen, but they gave you Prevnar and flu shot, one in one arm.
Oh my
which
gosh.
lied to you. Said they called it a flu shot, and then they give you two, and you say, what's that? Oh, it's bacterial pneumonia. So they stick all the bacteria and all the viruses and a whole bunch of cow blood, pig blood, and everything else in each arm. And we think our immune system, no, the elderly's immune system don't weaken, but some people, they can't stop it, will get AFib, and it's a lot more because they give them to them every year until they do get AFib.
Yeah.
And AFib's just, you know, myocarditis. We just made up afibrillation. Oh, your heart doesn't one day just start, you know. Come on. And we all buy this stuff, and we all go into the cardiologist, and they say, they show a commercial that's absolutely criminal fraud, and say, ask your doctor if this is right for you.
Ask your doctor if Prevnar is right for you.
And the minute you do that, and then they got somebody on TV going, Arexy, and it's like, you moron. You know, I chose. No, you didn't. You have no idea what's in that shot. And you just poisoned yourself, and you gave away your informed consent because you wanted to give that doctor power over you because you're too prideful to think. You don't want responsibility. You want me to tell you what to do. So Andrew and I just started, we were always making the cannabinoids to nutrify the endocannabinoid system, but even churches won't let God's cannabis plants in because we've been lied to about what's addiction and what's not.
Okay.
And so he started a 508, which is a private membership association called Light Dove Ministries. It's completely off the grid. We don't pay taxes. Nobody knows who we are. And then we'll get in there and we buy up all of the good old drugs that really, really work because I made them.
Okay.
And that heal AIDS, the oral immunization. They're called Truvada, Genvoya. Look at them on the TV. Now they're giving people the glucagon peptides so that they heal the obesity. You know, instead of the snake venom that they were poisoning with called Ozempic. So everything's poison, and we just buy up all the healing drugs and use them with the plant therapies, including the cannabinoid.
Can we say that again where people can go and really test that out? Because your work and your grandson's work is hard. We want to support it, and we also, you know, I know a lot of listeners are in a place of they need healing. Okay, God, we pray for healing, but there's also wisdom. So how can people find that?
Well, therealdrjudy.com, therealdrjudy.com, all one word, is where you can find all things that I do. LightDoveMinistries.com, all one word, Light Dove Ministries.
Light, L-I-G-H-T?
Correct. Because we're light and we're
Okay.
peace. And we're ministries because there are a lot of ministries that allow us to take back our lives with other godly people coming in to minister to you. So if you join I believe it's not more than $20 a month, like less than $200 a year, and you join the PMA, the 508 as a member, that's all you need for health care.
Okay.
Stop Medicare. Stop health insurance, go pay for your own food, go buy your own, and we will teach you. We'll teach you how to grow food. He's got a whole, everybody in a different place in the ministry. I'm education. He calls me health, but he's really, because my job is to teach the doctors. And if the doctors won't listen, the patients can't get help. That's why Andrew is there, because he is the practitioner. He's a pastor. And you'll be a participant in your own wellness and a student. in our organization, and you will have total access to both of us.
Yeah,
And
that's really refreshing, because a lot of people think, the speakers on these tours are unreachable, and you're not. I know you've been on her podcast and you're reachable. Like, so people can really actually have a conversation with the real Dr. Judy.
Right. And Light Dove Ministries, you'll talk to Andrew. He'll text me and he'll say, "Mom, I don't get this one's tough for me. Help."
Yeah.
And it's just usually got a ridiculous name.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with it. And all I do is I do Brian Artis. What that is Google. And Google in a way where you string two words together, where you dump down what they're doing, because you remember Job 6:1. They have to tell you what they're doing. They've showed you in the literature.
Yeah.
They've shown you in the movies. They show you on the news.
Or you open the pamphlet and there's nothing in there. It's blank.
Yeah. And you took another one. And somehow that was okay, and you didn't take that to your doctor and say, "Here is an insurance claim, not a lawsuit. It's called medical malpractice."
Right.
Any doctor that put anything other than a True 47 silver mask on, and they better be wearing it now, because the doctors are the ones taking it home. So again, watch the high wire. This is what we do. If you want to, you're playing on my team. You volunteered for this. Nobody works for me. I work for
Amen.
God. So if
Amen.
you want to play on the team, you got to get out of it. You got to obey the 10 Commandments. You got to know them, and then we win. So that's how we do it. My team watches the high wire.
I love Del.
Uh-huh.
Del's the man.
It was yesterday.
He's got the best hair.
Exactly.
All the ladies love Del.
Yes.
And you wonder why.
No, I don't.
He's brilliant, and he's bold. Bold as a lion.
Or Mickey.
Yeah.
So these are the two sides of my family.
Amen.
So we decided Del was doing Judy Mikovitz a whole lot better than Judy Mikovitz is doing. Because when I say Cherokee, it doesn't go well. I just assume scalp you. So I wasn't as eloquent as Del is when I'm
You're doing an amazing job. Hey, I had one last question for you before because this is like still in your wheelhouse, because you're so smart. Okay. Elon Musk, Neuralink, they crossed a very unique threshold. I don't know if you saw back when they had a monkey that was connected neurally to where the monkey's thoughts could control a dispensing of like a treat. Now, they did all kinds of experimenting. Some monkeys actually did not connect well. There was a monkey, they actually reported that literally once it was connected neurally to a computer, it literally rammed its head against a window, killing itself. And humanity is trying to cross this barrier. Now, Neuralink has been given FDA permission to now work on humans, to neurally connect digital computers to the human body. My dad's in a wheelchair. He's physically unable to walk. I know many other paralyzed people who are thinking, yeah, I will do this in a hot second to have the ability to walk again. Many Olympic athletes who are injured, football athletes who've been injured, spinal cord injuries, severing of the, communication between your body. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Would you say don't touch this? I don't trust Elon Musk.
Elon Musk fails the test because he sat there, and I think Clay played it in the beginning today. He showed you that there were, what did he say? He said that there were good things that happened in COVID, and that was synthetic biology.
Yeah.
So that synthetic biology could do these things. So number one, he fails as far as being God. So I'm taking everything he says now, and I'm watching him play those counterfeits for me, and that's why I sit out front, because I'm watching how the audience responds, and I'm learning too. So no, when you said the monkey that was controlled banged his head until he died, I'll give you an autistic kid.
Yes.
So they've been trying to do it to you. They could take your voice, but they can't control your thoughts. J.B. Handley, when those kids could communicate with their fingers, then you knew they were still human and they were in there. That's the book, Marsha Hines. I know you're in there.
Wow.
So when we have confidence in our kids. So again, they did that to the monkey. And so they tried it on the black kids first, because somehow, you heard Pastor Leon this morning, everybody, somehow God made black people closer to monkeys, and this is me being just, if you guys don't see this, we are not evolved from monkeys.
Amen.
This is all that evolution scheme. So, they keep telling you they can do it. Why? Because they can't.
Yes.
That's why I tell you the identical twin story. It's like, hey, I got this, and I walk out there, and maybe I'll tell this tomorrow. And, a couple weeks ago, I got that Ebola thing going on, and I was bleeding from the inside out, and Andrew came, and he saved me with some of my formulation, so maybe I'll tell you. And I'm like, okay, God, this is not a lot of fun. Okay. And you have to think. You can't get in that space. And so when you get in that space and, you're bleeding out the eyes, the lungs, you can taste it, and I even asked Pastor Rob with my baptism on November 26th, I called him and I said, maybe you want me to stay to the end or something, because if they see the Marburg and it goes through this church, they've been promising us that. But I knew, because I did the work in the 90s.
Right.
And so you're trying to get the lab workers sick, so I'm like, okay. Chase the eosinophils around. I called Brian Artis. I called the whole Healing for the Ages group. The urotherapy made it work. So it's like, guys, worse. So it's like, guys, we can't go here. So I literally spent 4 weeks, and before Andrew got me the cannabis cream, we call it Canashroom because it's got ivermectin in it. I got it all over. It's made on a foundation of camel hump fat, and you put those nanobodies on the back of your neck, and you can just drop it like a rock. So the minute he got that to me, I got calmer.
Thank you, Jesus.
So it's like, so we make these things, and you think about it as, but you have to stay out of fear. It's like, think. Just
Amen.
think. Just it's all good, and we show those, we call them heroes of the faith, that just trust God and just stay in it. And my friends are doing the same thing. They're saying, okay, I'm not going anywhere near that hospital because they're going to kill you. And we'll get on the phone with you, and he'll pray you through it, and I'll think you through it. I'll get you the medicines you need. And Andrew, I'm texting him, he's praying, but you've got to be in that place where you're not afraid, and you're like, okay, now this is going to be fun because we'll fix it, just like John Fankhauser, the doctor who fixed it, in the book by Kent and Amber Brantley, 2015, called For Life. How loving one's neighbor took us into the heart of the Ebola outbreak. That Ebola outbreak in 2014 was forced on killed 21,000 Liberians by Obama and Fauci.
Jeez.
They knew exactly what they were doing to cover up William Thompson of the CDC's confession. And then we all watched the plane. They're psyops. That's not how he died. That's not. So when you look at the movies and you look at the literature and you look for truth, it takes a lot of time. And then you don't have time for their bullshit. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly. Hey, it's
you.
Paul says our sins and even our good works are like poop rags, filthy rags.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're all good here on Church and State for the occasional colorful word, as my mom calls them. Colorful words.
Well, we understand poop.
Yep.
And we understand bull hockey and ice hockey and whatever else we do.
Well, Rachel, did you have any more questions for the legend, the rock star that is Judy Mikovitz?
No, I'm just so thankful for you
and
all that you're doing.
I hope you'll join us, because we also have, an Academy of Abiding Wellness in the Odom platform. You'll see Dr. Tracy, the naturopath. We work with, just godly people, Bob Ray, everybody in town, because together we got this, and we can give everybody there. They are 2-year-olds. We have to say hot, 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 move away. And they have to know who they're listening to, because they don't know. And they're just, the tilt's on big time.
Yeah.
And we have to forgive them and ourselves. That's what I put in the back of Plandemic. And that's what I said at Ernie Hancock's last virus
shout out to
education.
Freedom's Phoenix, Ernie Hancock. Church and State is hoping to do some stuff with Ernie. We love what he's doing.
Yeah.
Arizona's better for it. Arizona's getting freer in Jesus' name. Maybe we can win an election, in the state of Arizona. Gosh, dang it. But it's been a pleasure having you.
We might win one in California. I'll show you how tomorrow.
Ooh, okay. Come on. She'll be talking about it at 3 o'clock tomorrow on day 2 of the ReAwaken America Tour here in Tulare, California. You've been joined by Judy Mikovitz. Your website one more time.
therealdrjudy.com, therealdrjudy.com, and lightdoveministries.com, and you get us both from both of those sources.
Her grandson.
My godson.
Oh, Godson. Okay, I heard that wrong. Well,
I don't have kids because
okay.
I have an identical twin, so I didn't need to go down that
there you
path.
Go.
So God has a sense of
You have
humor. He
nieces and
needed two of
nephews,
me.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, she's tougher than I am. She's got 3
Man.
boys.
Well, Jesus bless you. Continue
Yes.
to fight the fight. You know, I know you are a spry chicken. You're not done yet. The Lord has got many great things for you to do yet. So keep it up. I know it's sometimes a weight on your shoulder. You know, truth echoes though. It resounds. It's on a whole nother frequency. It's in tune. And you know what? There's a lot of people who agree with you, and they hold you up and they pray for you. So, and we at Church and State will do the same. And my sister Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel.
So we thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
All right. Well, you've seen it here. Please check out her website. And it's been a pleasure having you here at Church and State. And what's your podcast, Rachel?
The Unfiltered Healing Podcast.
The Unfiltered Healing Podcast. Check her out. She's so busy with her doctor chiropractic work. She's 6